sometimes it's easier to change people than it is to change people. And kata gives people a chance to get on board and change.
A few weeks ago, we attended the KataCon 5 Summit in Savannah, Georgia. And it was a fantastic gathering with lots of learning and sharing. And while we captured many of the presentations with our video cameras, we also had our mobile podcast recording booth with us and were able to interview several folks, including today's guest, Bill Kraus. Now, Bill works for the Arkansas Economic Development Commission and, as you'll hear, has an extremely impressive background. During the show, Bill and I talk about what he's learned about continuous improvement and leadership throughout his career. And of course, we also talk about the role scientific thinking has played and continues to play in the work he does. The show notes for this episode, which will include links to everything we discuss, can be found over at gembapodcast.com. Just look for episode 257. You can also check out Gemba Academy's Lean Learning System over at gembaacademy.com with a fully functional trial. Okay, enough from me. Let's get to the show.
All right. Well, Bill, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah, it's this is the second time that we've had these face-to-face kind of interviews. We were at AME recently, and we did those. And so I'm normally talking to people over Skype, but it's much better, when we can see each other face-to-face. So thanks for coming on and joining us. So, Bill, as you know from our discussions, we like to begin all of our episodes with our guest sharing a quote. So do you have one?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So when it comes to continuous improvement leadership, my quote kind of goes back to the early 90s. I had an opportunity to go to Memphis with a bunch of guys to see a diaconate service where a Bishop Curtis Guillory was ordaining 30 men into the diaconate.
Okay.
And each time a man would come up, he'd hand him a Bible, put his hand on his head and say, "Believe what you read, teach what you believe, and practice what you teach."
Yeah.
So I got to memorize that because I heard it 30 times.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool. So, I think about all that we're about here and everything we've heard, all the wonderful stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
How do we learn it? How do we share it? And I think it does require that we believe it, and it's good stuff. And we teach it, and I think we're being encouraged, not so much admonished, but encouraged to practice it too. So, so I think, anyway, that was my quote.
Oh, I love it. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. Well, Bill, tell us about who you are. Tell us about your background, how you first got exposed to all this continuous improvement stuff.
Sure.
And then tell us what you're up to these days.
Okay, great. So last June I celebrated, if you will, 50 years in manufacturing. So first 28 years, phase one, I call it, 2 major corporations, a couple small companies. Moved around a lot, got to go to 12 different locations, superintendent, plant manager, VP levels, learned a lot of stuff there. And when it came to continuous improvement during those first 28 years, it was kind of a lot of, for me, what was this all about? It was so many pieces coming through. And when we saw leadership, it was pretty much, here's your budget, got to make these numbers every month. We'd come together and we'd get the data and we'd pour over it and we'd commiserate and we try to make suggestions. Then we go out and kind of next month it was kind of business as usual. And so we really didn't engage leadership throughout the whole organization.
Yeah.
It was a lot of again, business as usual, a lot of kind of jumping to conclusions. And I kind of look at it as
everything we say not to do, right?
Everything we learned, right?
Yeah,
not to do.
Yeah.
Jumping to conclusions. And it was a lot of this kind of looking in the rearview mirror. What just happened? What was this all about? So you remember the Cars video, Pixar Cars video? Yeah. When Mater was teaching Lightning McQueen how to drive backwards, he said, I don't need to know where I'm going. I just need to know where I've been, right? So we did a lot of that. And we meant well, and there were good folks, good people at all the levels, leadership, management, value adders, but we just didn't, the system wasn't there to bring it together. Then in 1996, I kind of started phase 2 for about 15 years when I joined the NIST MEP in Arkansas. You guys know about that. We have these organizations where we meet with our clients and help them out.
Yeah.
And those were my wow years. I got introduced to the Toyota production system. I mean, all these wonderful concepts. And so we went out and we were like TPS hammers looking for nails. You want 5S, you want quick changeover. We did these things without a sense of purpose. we meant well again, but we missed the opportunity to be more purpose driven, and we end up kind of doing lean to people rather than with them.
Yeah.
Although at the same time, leadership, I think, started to become aware of all this good stuff, right? And they said, hey, this lean stuff is good. You guys do that and kind of keep us posted, right? They weren't quite engaged. And so management had not only the day-to-day responsibilities, but they also had this lean thing that they were going to have to do. So, but again, the whole system was evolving. We were learning. Mm-hmm. And then in 2011, like Mike says, the penny dropped. I discovered Toyota Kata, and for me,
how'd you discover it?
Just came across the book.
Somebody gave you a book?
Came across the book. We read it. Brandon Brown and I went to Texas, heard Mike speak. We came back to Arkansas and created a little workshop, and we began to really study and understand what Kata was all about. So I've been a student. So this is like I'm beginning to see phase. So for the last 7 years, that's where I've been. And what I found, of course, we all see is that how Toyota Kata involves everybody. Mm-hmm. Leaders, managers, value adders, they're now involved in this North Star, where are we going, this vision. And then leaders and managers get together and they get to understand what's the challenge, what's that 1 year out. In Arkansas, we encourage our companies to kind of look at a challenge in 12 months, a year out.
Okay.
And then what's the current condition, what's the target condition, maybe a monthly. What are the obstacles? What are the PDCA cycles? And so it goes on. It gives our clients a purpose. So Mike said that he posited that maybe Kata is the evolution of lean, and he had a question mark in the end of that, right? Well, I kind of take the question mark off, thinking that believing that Kata is that evolution of lean. And for me, I think it's it. I think it's the answer. What could possibly be better than purpose-driven activity to pursue excellence?
I almost want to, sounds blasphemous here for a second, but I almost want to disagree with Mike's statement that it's the next evolution of lean. I don't think it's the next evolution of lean. I think it's the next evolution of like humanity.
Oh, good.
Like it's not about lean to me,
right?
Because when I'm talking with my, 16-year-old daughter who's stressed out about taking the ACT, mm-hmm. Soon, she doesn't care about lean. Right. There's real emotions, there's real fear, and so in my mind now I'm, I've kind of put my own signature on it, as we talked about the other day. Like I don't always whip out the card, right? Yep. But I'm helping her, kind of break it down, yep. And to me, it's been life-changing for me. I mean, for sure, it's changed the way I approach lean, no
right.
question.
Yep.
So, in fact, it is the next evolution of lean, mm-hmm. but it's much more than that, in my opinion.
Totally agree.
I even bugs me on Gemba Academy, our website. It's one of our courses. And mixed in with all the other things, and that really bugs me in a way, because it's not to disrespect the tools, but it's not a tool.
No.
And it doesn't deserve to be stuck between 5S and 7 waist.
It's an existential way of life.
Yeah.
And when we take it to that level, it's just what could possibly be better? It's not about good to great or great to excellent. It's about pursuit of perfection. And it's about Toyota, and mm-hmm. they get it. It's all about their people. It's all about their process. It's about pursuing perfection.
Yeah.
So
we
had a conversation with Mike a couple years ago at dinner, and it was mentioned that could Kata be it? And in his own, his typical humble style, he kind of scratches and says, I don't know if it's really it, but I would offer that in my mind, what could possibly be better? It just fits with everything.
Yeah, I was talking to Dan Markovitz earlier, and we were just talking about, just reflecting on all the things that we've learned over the last couple of days, and you just really, the word that came out is just like framework. It's just framework. It's not about what I like about it's not about telling people what to do, mm-hmm. right? Because everyone's obstacles are different.
Yes.
My daughter's 16-year-old obstacles for ACT prep are very different than some senior vice president of operations somewhere running a factory, right? But at the end of the day, both of them share one thing in common: fear, uncertainty, anxiety, right? Doubt.
Yeah, I like what you just said, because that's what we're doing now. We don't go to our clients in Arkansas and say, we're going to we're here to help. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to help you tell yourselves what you need to do. And I think kata does that.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit about, I mean, obviously, Bill, you've got incredible, experience and I'm sure stories upon stories upon stories of triumph and of struggle and perhaps even failure, along the way. Can you, I don't know, just maybe talk about that a little bit. Yeah. Talk about some of your journey.
Yeah. So I think the thing that something that pops out is the normal distribution. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is all as it relates to continuous improvement and leadership. We've got the tails in our normal distribution. We've got some that are out there on the edge. They're the early adopters. They see the future, right? Mm-hmm. And they're just ready to go. And I think that's what this is all about. Yeah. I think those of us who are talking about that's the future. There's a great poem out there by Ralph Waldo Emerson entitled "The Poet," and it's really cool. Talks about how they see the future and the creativity. So, in the normal distribution, there's that section. Then over here we've got the citizens against virtually everything, right?
Cave people,
the cave dwellers, right? Yeah. And then in the middle we got the wait and see, mm-hmm. and those are folks that are, in many ways, for them it's just a job. So, I think what I'm learning is that all that we're about here in continuous improvement and leadership can begin to shift that whole paradigm. And the idea then is to create a larger group of early adopters and give the cave dwellers a chance to get on board, or maybe they're not ready.
It's not the right fit.
It may not be the right fit, right? And so what kata does is I think of the saying, sometimes it's easier to change people than it is to change people. And kata gives people a chance to get on board and change. Mm-hmm. And so, as we begin to create this critical mass and build this momentum, things happen. It's also occurred to me that it's not just a total business model, but it really comes down to the individual level. You, I, Mike, all of us, we have, at any given time, all we have to offer in terms of what we do is, what's our knowledge of the job? When you get right in the head, you have knowledge. What's our ability to actually do that job? When you get right in your hands, you have ability. And then, what's our passion for the job? How much do we love it? When you get right in your heart, you got passion. And when you take knowledge and ability and you combine that and give it an opportunity, passion at the exponential level, stuff happens. You bring knowledge and ability together for a person maybe who has a very low knowledge of 2 and a very low ability of 2, but their passion is 8. That's kind of like Toyota's model, right? Mm-hmm. Hire for attitude, train for aptitude. Mm. And then conversely, sometimes you've got these cave dwellers who have high knowledge and high ability, but their passion, something went out, the light went out. And so I think kata, and then there's the wait and see, that's $1 million club. They're all at 5s. And so the kata engages everybody in this conversation, gives us a choice to change. I can come out of the cave, I can be part of this, and I can be part of the early adopters.
So do you think, I love that, I love the distribution concept here. I can see it in my mind, like the slide that we've all used, right? Do you think it's, I don't know how to ask this. Like how obviously the early adopters, there's not that many of them. I mean, even here, there's a few hundred of us, right?
Yes.
And AME has 3,000 people.
Correct. Right.
Now a lot of those 3,000 people also practice kata and all the rest of it.
Yes, sir.
But they're not here.
You're exactly right. And I'm part of AME too. I get that part.
I mean, I love AME. I mean, we're huge partners of them. So I'm wondering how important is it for us to, or is it important to increase the early adopters? Or, I mean, you can't really, you either are or you aren't, I suppose, right?
It's a choice.
You can't really make someone an early adopter. So I suppose it, are we really targeting the big part of the bell, right? Mm-hmm. And trying to move some of those folks. Mm-hmm. Again, they can't ever become something they're not, mm-hmm. right? They either are or aren't an early adopter. But I suppose is that where we want to target the middle, or do we want to go and I don't want to say ignore the cave dwellers, but
everybody has an opportunity, and I think it's incumbent on us as part of the extended community of continuous improvement advocates, disciples, whatever, to show what we're doing and give hope that this is something I can believe in.
Yeah.
And So I think it addresses all three factions. Early adopters, do they have a responsibility? I think it's more of an opportunity to do stuff. And if they can affect the change and bring everybody along, I think that's what kata does.
Yeah. I love that. What have you learned? I mean, we've talked a lot about that, but talk a little bit more about that, because I share a very similar story to you, Bill, and as far as I don't have the experience you have, but I too did a lot of tools, and I did lean to a lot of people, and over the years, and then I've come to find kind of like religion or whatever you want to call it, as far as like, whoa, there's a whole nother way of approaching this, right? But talk about that transformation from doing lean to people to involving them more in scientific thinking process, because it's a hard jump. I think it's even easier. Like, I'm working with some new customers of ours, and they're really brand new, to continuous improvement. And so I'm really, in fact, a few of them are here, at this conference. And I'm like, this is where you start. So I almost think it's going to be easier for them.
They don't know what they don't know.
And the tools will come to them as they need them, right?
Exactly.
But talk about like your transition. Like, was it hard for you yourself?
Well, I would like to think I've been an early adopter. I mean, I got it. I was just part of a culture when I was growing up that was wholesome and believed in that. So it was easy for me. I was kind of like pulling it all together, and it didn't make sense. Too many pieces didn't make sense. I didn't know what the puzzle looked like. And I think kata, in fact, has helped to really bring all that together. What I think too is that the WIFM question, what's in it for me? I think it exists at all three levels: leadership, management, and the value adders. And people have to have a sense of hope. Why do I want to do this? You want me to get involved in this? Well, I'm afraid, or it's new, it's different. What's in it for me? And the sad part that I see in too many situations is that middle section where it's just a job. People come to work, they punch the clock, they do their thing, they go home, and that's kind of the end of it. And we really don't have a way of pulling that all together. And so I think having a job, if you want to call it that, is a gift. What do we do with that money, right? In a sense, fundamentally, it is all about money, and I consider that to be a gift. So, having a job, being able to take care of myself, Maslow's hierarchy need, food, shelter, clothing, and then my wife and I have 50-year celebration of marriage, 10 kids, and
10 kids,
5 kids, and 10 grandkids. I haven't been home since Sunday, so things could have changed, but right now that's where it's at. So, really, everything I do is to make sure that I can change the needle by providing my value proposition, the knowledge, ability, and passion for what I do as best I can. And in doing so, not only have I made money, but I've also earned a living. I think kata engages people in a way that it's not just about making money, it's about earning a living. What better the kata, the PDCA cycles? I think the most important thing in this whole process is, what are you going to put in that box that says step? What am I going to do today? What value proposition am I going to contribute that helps to move the needle so I have earned a living by contributing that value? And I think it requires us to be thoughtful. Leadership, managers, value adders, all are involved in the tactile filling out of the storyboard and the power of being part of that and being engaged in that process. There's David Crosby, Joni Mitchell, right? So I was listening to NPR. This is about the tactile process of the storyboard. I listened to NPR in 2016, and David Crosby was being interviewed, and he was talking about how he was having a creative conversation with Joni Mitchell, and he was going on about something, and she stopped him, and she said, "Write that down." And he said, "What?" She said, "Write that down." He said, "Write what down?" She said, "What you just said." And he said, "Why?" She said, "Because if you don't write it down, it didn't happen." So when we go to the storyboard and all three levels of leadership, management, and value adders are involved, all of a sudden that whole tactile process, we really get engaged. And I think there's great power behind the kata storyboard. So,
something that just popped in my mind when you were talking, Bill, thinking about those folks in the middle, where it's just a job. I think, I've spent a lot of time over the years really trying to study human behavior and motivation. I'm familiar with Dan Pink's work, as far as what motivates people, autonomy, mastery, purpose. And And those are big words, but I think a big part of people's lack of engagement, if you want to talk about the Gallup polls and all the rest of it, or just motivation, you talked about taking a step forward. What step are you taking? I think when people leave work at the end of the day, they want to know, did I really contribute to something today? Yeah. And sadly, a lot of people don't contribute. Agreed. They're just going through motions, yes, right? Sir. And so when we empower people and give people the opportunity to take a step, right, then right, they are beginning to go home and be excited, perhaps even to come back the next day, because they're going to do something different to make a step forward.
It's hopeful. It continues that. I like Mike's circle. This is our day, right? We have this circle, all the stuff we have to do. But then we have the little wedge, right? The little wedge. This is something that we're going to do, each of us, as a team, individuals, specifically above and beyond our normal our normal day. So, if we don't do that, nothing changes. Yeah. We still have our day job, and if we could just carve out that little piece of time to do something above and beyond, I think that's what kata compels us to do. Yeah. I did a value stream mapping session last week with a really fun company in Arkansas, and I was going through the circle and talking about the wedge, and the plant manager just really got a hold of this. He says, so this is going to be living in the wedge. This is what we're going to do every day. We're going to live in the wedge.
Oh,
so,
I love it.
He got the idea that we have to do something different.
You should make him a T-shirt to say living.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
That's great. That's great. So I know we have a common friend, many common friends, but one in particular who is one of my favorite just humans is Brandon Brown. And he gave obviously another awesome talk today, and maybe we'll turn that into a podcast or something. But and we'll have a video of it for sure. Talk about people like Brandon. I'm going to put Brandon on it.
Let me talk about Brandon, because I can't think of anybody more appropriate in this conversation that what he and I did together and what he has meant to me. In 2011, we went to Texas, and we saw Mike and Beth Carrington and do a 3-day kata. And when I went, I was amazed, blown away. I didn't get it. Brandon went, he got it instantly. He saw back then, 10 years ago, or 7 years ago, what I didn't get. And we came back to Arkansas. We put together, you're familiar with Buzz Electronics, the Lean 101 within the this MVP? No. Make circuit boards with widgets. And so we took that and we created a workshop that he and I taught all over 100 times. Okay. The first session we did was with Lazy Boy up in Northwest Arkansas. And we had 260, I still had the book, 262 of Mike's slides. So again, death by PowerPoint. But Brandon was always many steps ahead of me in terms of understanding how these pieces all came together. So, he was, I would say Brandon was my first mentor. Yeah. And we were both on the same journey together, but he has taken this to a whole different level. What he's done with NEA Baptist and Skip Stewart, and and there are others like Brandon out there, but Brandon has had a big influence on me in that regard.
Yeah, the thing that Brandon has taught me over the years, I don't know if it was on a podcast or we were just chatting, or one day he said, sometimes it's okay to embrace silence. When you're coaching someone and you ask them something and they don't immediately respond, the natural tendency for the coach is to fill in the silence.
Right.
But he said sometimes it's okay.
I think it's
just
important
to embrace the silence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So where do you see this whole scientific thinking, Toyota Kata, lean, whatever, just this whole movement? Where do you see it going, Bill, over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so I think I kind of bring it down to maybe Arkansas in terms of our NIST MVP and what we're doing with our clients. Again, like I said, I don't think there's anything better than kata because it gives us a purpose. It's the way. Our center director has embraced kata fully. In fact, we have applied it to ourselves within our NIST MVP. So we're practicing what we preach, right? Every Monday morning we have a virtual Salesforce kata session where we go through the 5 questions to be sure that we're on track as a team doing it. And right now we're enjoying a very good success within our NIST MVP. So we're continuing to promote that within our companies. I'm part of AME. the whole people-centric leadership piece. It's all about bringing the culture together. I have a quote that I kind of was listening to out here in terms of when we see stuff happening, what do we do with it? And we don't want to jump to conclusions, and kata helps us to purposely manage our business. And the idea that facts change thinking, thinking changes actions, and actions change results. So I think where we're going is we have to systematically and scientifically use what we know and what we're doing to take steps a little every day, right? Tai Chi Ono, a little every day, some days big up. Right?
Yeah.
So, it's a very hopeful program. We have evolved in our thinking. Our center director sees kata, lean, and TWI as kind of a trifecta. Kata manages the journey. It's the mother concept, right?
Yeah.
It's the capstone. Lean is about the right tools at the right time for the right reason. It helps us to get there. And then TWI to sustain the gains. As we make changes, and we have to find a way to inculcate that into our system. So what better way than to utilize JR, for example. So that's been our program. We have what's called Managing for Continuous Improvement. We start off with engaged leadership. We do a little Lean 101 to understand the concepts. We do value stream mapping, and then we do kata and TWI to kind of do those 5 components.
Now talk about the whole MEP model a little bit. Obviously you spent some time with Arkansas, but talk about just the model.
Yeah, so again, I've been on the team for 22 years, and in our charter, we get funded out of the federal government. We get about $140 million, and there's a couple thousand of us. Have you met Brian Lagos by any chance?
No.
Brian's here. He's a strong advocate of what we're all about. So every state has one of our teams. There's about 12 of us in Arkansas, and we go out and we meet with our clients to understand their wants and needs. And then at our what we have available to us is all kinds of resources, everything lean and everything.
Yeah.
So kata now is being utilized to help our clients understand what they want and need, and then we're able to bring that to them. So in our center, we have 12 of us who are practitioners. We also have third-party providers that can come in and help us as well.
Okay.
So we do training, we do facilitating, and now we do coaching to help. And I think it's pretty much the model for all MVPs.
So how do folks find?
Yes, if you go on the website, nist.gov, there's a map that comes up, and it will show whichever state you're in. You can click on that, then that gives your center director.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. All right. How can people connect with you directly, Bill?
So, phone number and email. How's that?
Well, you don't have to do that. Or you're on LinkedIn or something like that?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't want to give you your phone number.
I'm happy to. I'll answer 24/7. I prefer not in the middle of the night, but I will.
Okay. Well, how about are you William Kraus or Bill Kraus?
I go by Bill. Yes, sir.
Bill on LinkedIn?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll find you, and we'll put it in the show notes, and if you want to put your phone number in there,
I'm happy to.
Okay, that'd be great. All right. Well, thanks again for all your work, and it's great to meet you. And the show continues here, so let's get back to learning some more.
Privileged to be part
of it.
Thank you,
sir.
Thanks for listening to the Gemba Academy podcast. Now, we invite you to take a no-strings-attached, fully functional test drive of GembaAcademy.com. Gain immediate access to more than 1,000 Lean and Six Sigma learning resources, all free of charge, at GembaAcademy.com.